Award-winning futurist researcher and keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton joining us on Canada Now for his weekly visit. And yeah, Kramer might be right, and that doctor is lying. Maybe now, if he were in the hospital right now, because for the first time, Nick, surgeons in the U.S. have been able to transplant a genetically modified pig heart into a living human.
Yeah, and this has been a long time coming. So this particular pig that the heart was grown in had 10 genetic modifications to it, all focused on reducing the chances of rejection from a human immune system, which is the key to any sort of organ transplantation. So, but this is actually a huge step. I've been following this as a signal and a trend area for a number of years. In fact, I spoke to the London Swine Convention exactly about this kind of thing happening about 5 years ago, actually. So it's really interesting to see how the physical similarities between us as humans and pigs is gonna actually be really beneficial to us in the long run.
The London Swine Collection.
No. It's London Swine Convention.
Convention.
So people from the pig industry, the pork industry.
That's amazing. London Swine Convention. I love that. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, the previous step to this treatment was putting pig organs in baboons.
Yeah.
This
is the typical sort of flow of testing, right? Before you go like the whole hog, Jeff. Excuse me. For that. But what's really interesting about around pigs is that humans and pigs share 98% of the same genes.
Wow.
There's a lot of people that are very spiritual and religious, like, for example, the shamans in the Amazon will not eat pigs because they're seen as being so similar to humans in terms of, levels of intelligence, physical attributions, and whatever. We're just one step up in this sort of the coil of life in their eyes, right? So it's really interesting to see this happen.
Well, this could conceivably solve the organ shortage crisis. There were a couple of transplants last year. There were two performed in functionally dead patients who were kept alive on ventilators for several days. And in both instances, a genetically modified pig kidney was transplanted into the recently deceased human subjects, who were then monitored for signs of immune rejection for several days. To say that this would be a game changer is certainly putting it lightly, because there are many different ways one can go with this. I mean, you look at the pig heart, put into a living human, but it's much more than that. You sent me another story about pig embryos that had been injected with human stem cells when they were only a few days old, began to grow organs containing human cells.
Yeah, absolutely. So the human pig chimeras, this sort of the human pig hybrids. We're in some strange ethical territory, right? But you're very right in terms of it being quite useful. I mean, if you look down in the States, about 120,000 people are waiting for life-saving transplants, but every day about 24 die before they get them. And if you think about this, if suddenly we get to a point where autonomous cars become more prevalent in the world, fewer people are going to be dying from car accidents. There's a lot of people, about 1.3 million people a year die from car accidents as well, right? So, and that's globally. So those people actually do provide transplants for people. So this, if you can actually build some sort of facility, and this has been planned by one of the largest pork producers down in the States, Smithfield. They're planning to actually build out facilities where their pork business is extending now to growing organs for humans.
Do you think it'll get to a point where eating pork would be less of an option, less of an encouraged option?
I think it's going to be like, if you've taken like organs that have transplanted into humans, it's probably not only ethically strange, but very poor taste to actually eat the bacon and the pork from those pigs, don't you think?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think it could change sometime down the road our eating habits. What about like cloning sheep and cows, etc.? Did that all pave the way for this to happen?
I mean, if you remember, like, I think it was Dolly the sheep, 1997, and the world was like, whoa, and like big conversations about ethics and should we be doing this? But animals have been cloned. A lot of different like pigs, sheep, horses, cows, whatever. They've all been cloned a lot since then, right? This technology is really starting to sort of become rife. I mean, there's speculations that human cloning has happened in China. I haven't found anything that corroborates that, but like there's a lot of conversation in the underground scientific community that, you know, the cloning and all this technology, right? We're sort of on the edges of science, and there's a lot of people that are actually scared that we're overstepping the mark.
You know, with this this transplant that took place, this pig heart to human transplant, important to note that the heart was not rejected. I think that's important to make sure of. But this is a 57-year-old patient with terminal heart disease. The patient was too unwell to qualify for a regular heart transplant. Right. So this was a last resort. It's either we do this or you die. Yeah. So like when you're given that choice, I think you're like, whatever you got to do, let's figure this out, because if it doesn't work and I die anyway, well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes these are the ways that we push the boundaries of science, right? So it's interesting, you know. There's lots of people talking about lots of different transplants. You know, even there was even the conversation about maybe someone receiving an entire head transplant just a few years ago as well.
A head transplant? Yeah,
it was an Italian doctor that was going to attempt to do it. I don't think it actually went through that, but like the medical community had a lot to say about that. Right?
Wow. I mean, that's taking it up a level when you see a friend of yours and you go, you look different. You get a haircut? Well, actually, more than that. I got a whole new head.
Yeah, exactly. Some days I wish I had a whole new head.
Check out NikolasBadminton.com, futurist researcher, keynote speaker Nick Badminton. Nick, a very unique conversation. I'm glad we had it. Look forward to the next one. Thanks for this.
It's going to get weirder and weirder, Jeff.
Thank you, Nick.